Uh, this is the first Auto Dealer Target Roundtable, and we're going to be doing this every week. And we'll just start over here on the left. We've got Dennis McGinn. He's our guest this week. Dennis is with Rapid Recon. And tonight we're going to be talking about vehicle reconditioning, eliminating process gaps to improve profit margins. This is actually very interesting stuff, and once Dennis gets started with it, I think that you guys will find that to be interesting too. John Miller is to the right of Dennis. John Miller is the Internet Director for the Bradshaw Group of dealerships, which is Breakaway Honda, Bradshaw Infiniti, and Bradshaw Acura. And he also works with yours truly at Auto Dealer Target. Michael Nast, well, he's a legend. What's your company, Michael? It's .TV, is that right?
Yeah, .TV Media Services. And before
there
that,
you go.
I was in the automobile industry as a general manager for over 25 years.
So Michael's got some experience. I am Tom Kain, president at Auto Dealer Target, and the one that decided to put this show on. So looking forward to it. And last but not least, Jay Chang with Rapid Fire Auto, and they do a tech solution for the automobile industry and other industries as well. So they've got a really cool product. So with that being said, it is almost 5 after. I am going to give the floor to Dennis McGinn and let him introduce himself and tell us about Rapid Recon.
You sure you want me to do this?
I'm pretty sure. I wouldn't have invited you otherwise.
Now you did say I could say anything I wanted, right? That would be.
That's exactly right.
All right. So anyway, Michael, nice to meet you, and Jay as well. I did get to meet John the other day, and of course I've worked with Tom now for almost a year on a monthly campaign. So great group of people. I have started a company about a year ago called Rapid Recon, and it was done really in support of a Lexus dealership out here in the Bay Area, and was kind of done with a Kaizen process angle on it too, which I'm sure you all know what that is. And I've been developing applications for the auto industry for about 8 or 9 years. But before that, I run a lot of companies, built companies. I was at Hewlett Packard for 21 years. I'm basically a technology guy that just likes challenges. This reconditioning product has been just a ton of fun for me because I see an area that has been largely untouched by the proper usage process, and by and large, it's being used with shared spreadsheets or whiteboard, and always been thought of as kind of a semi-linear process of things being kind of thrown over the wall and that, and really no real measurement and therefore no real accountability. And when we started this out, I kind of went out and recruited some folks to help me get started, but ever since then, basically people hear about it, they come to me, and I've kind of become the go-to person for people like, Luther Group and AutoNation, Galp, and people like that who really want to get this problem kind of organized. Let me just kind of give you a kind of a quick overview of what I do. This is a database program. And it's set up so that any number of steps, the number of steps don't really matter, and the order of the steps don't matter. The thing that really matters is that there's a step line with each person in the process that needs to be accountable, and those can be subcontractors. Those can be the 5 people that come on site that do bumpers and glass and interior and all that too. But the main thing is really getting the car as quickly as possible, obviously not just received, but inbound too, because some of our dealers start right with the buying it at the auction on their iPads, just dropping it into the system, and it tracks it all the way through every step of the way, and every step of the way all the way through till it's frontline ready. And the thing about no gaps is really the basis of the product is that alerts go out, mostly text alerts, can be email alerts. When a car is ready for the next step, that's pushed out automatically by the system, and so you just it's just a single click that moves this whole process along. And when it's done with one step, it automatically starts the next step. And so that really takes all the kind of, I didn't know and finger pointing out of the system. We also do things that are more akin to, what vAuto and First Look and AX do, which is try and provide some metrics for process improvement. And so we do that as well, just for reconditioning. That's all we do. We don't get fancy about it, don't ever intend to, but we do provide what you would consider recon terms, and our system will take and break that down for the dealer. Basically, break it down for the dealer any way they want. So, top level number, if their objective is 7 or 8 terms as the objective for all of the cars that they're running through. We have people running 500 cars a month through a single store in Ohio, for instance. Then they can see how each of the supporting steps relates to that performance. And this is a new thing. And nobody's ever been able to see it kind of in real time, how service and how body shop and how detail and how photos, how they all play into the performance measure, the overall performance measure in the hardware. So that's what's kind of brought this product to the forefront, where now all of a sudden everybody can see how they participate, and it's not just a bunch of Chinese walls backing them in the conditions are. But we've had some real successes. We've had some. The biggest problem is really right now. It's really keeping the people that want to get on board with this thing, kind of keep them from going crazy with it, to where they're sending text messages to everybody and driving them crazy. But the results have been pretty astounding. So I'll just maybe drop it open there, so I don't just keep kind of going on here, which I can do all night. Who's it? Anybody questions? No? Okay. Well, if no questions, let me just kind of throw out a couple of kind of fun stories, and kind of relate how this is going. When this thing started out, a process consisted of maybe 5 steps, very, very simple, from acquire to receive to doing an inspection, and then going to service and detail and photos, and just really basic stuff. And but now the last couple that I've done have all been in the 18 or 20 step range, and so they're measuring with a lot more granularity, and you got more people involved in they're part of the process. But the way it's set up is it's not linear at all. As long as it comes in at the top, goes out at the bottom, it can go any path it wants. So it just touches the things that need to be done, and that's the way you get the cycle times down in this process, by not trying.
And what cycle times have you seen? What kind of improvements have you seen with dealers where you've installed this?
Well, about 35% would be typical in the cycle times. we've seen that there's about a 35% friction factor in a process that is being centrally managed and not individually managed. So, for instance, a shared spreadsheet or a whiteboard, there's just a lot of work of running around trying to figure out, asking everybody where the cars are in the process, and that's extra work.
Right. So, what, as far as the industry goes, what's the standard turn time for most stores? If you had to put a number on the average.
Well, I get to see all the real numbers, so I'm kind of the dirty laundry side of this business, and there's this old thing about it. You go to the 20-group meeting and everybody goes around the table and says, "What's your number?" And well, my number's 3 days, and the next guy says my number's 5, and so on. Finally, you get around to somebody that really knows what their numbers are, and they say, "You guys are all crazy," because there isn't any such thing. And the fact is that really good numbers in this industry are 6.5, 7.5 days, and you're looking at basically all of them, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I see them ranging up to 15, 18 days sometimes. And you're basically going to have that. What is going on there? Oh, I can't tell. Looks like somebody's driving. Hey, but you're gonna have that situation because reconditioning is so dynamic. It all depends on how many cars you have coming in, what your demand is going out, and all your resources in between. It's constantly changing. So the part that we do is we keep showing them the real numbers, their numbers, because they're clicking on it, and then they get to play the game of where do we need more resources, or why are we getting so far behind? Are we buying cars that are too rough and we're having to do too much work to them? So it's an opportunity for them to kind of watch the resource with one hand, and on the other hand, they're trying to watch their gross margins. And we kind of all, I guess we know now that, after a car's on the lot 3 weeks, it's getting stale.
Right. So if the average number is somewhere around 15, taking that you said 15 to 18, and then you can save them 35%, which would be 5.25 days.
Yep.
From trade or auction to the front line. That's pretty significant.
Yeah, you're talking about a lot of money. I mean, you put that in terms of dollars, it's a lot of money. So, it isn't just time as money. I mean, you have to be really, really flexible. You have people that are waiting for cars. They're getting sold in recon. You get holes in your front line that you need to fill. You need to pull things through. I mean, if you're really smart, you're looking at detailed page views and figuring out what you've got in your pipeline and making sure that that's getting through the pipe. So there are a lot of variables here, and it's this is I think reconditioning. About a year ago, our friend Dale Pollock, who all of you know, said in a blog, and he's a big supporter of what I'm doing, so I'm glad to mention this, but he put in a blog that reconditioning, and he said, is the last bastion of old school management. Now, coming from a guy like that, he's saying this is something that has a real opportunity, hasn't been addressed. And I think that's kind of sums it all up for me. It's actually one of the things that kind of got me really interested in, although I started doing that before he got into that, but that's what I found. I just found a gold mine in here of opportunities to kind of take a system that is disjointed and has a lot of old finger pointing issues in it and really smooth it out. And it happens. It happens because the people would really rather know what they own and how long they've owned it. I mean, they really would rather be accountable than to have people say, well, I didn't know or I told you, and so that there's some uncertainty. I think that's where the friction issue is. It's just the uncertainty issue.
Well, how long would you say? How long does it take a dealership to get set up on a system like that and get it to where it's smoothed out, as you say?
It takes 2 weeks to get it set up. The first thing is a data feed that usually comes from, via Auto First Look, AX. We can pull it from the DMS. We just get them from everywhere. Free is best, and with pictures is really nice to have. The most important part of getting it started, though, is to have the principals, usually the owners there are all kinds of people that get involved. I get CFOs that call me, that like the Brown Chevy in Des Moines. Hey, people like that call me, and so they're all over the place. But it's the fixed ops guys that really are in the middle of the party. And the most important part really is to think through what steps do I need that line up with the people that will push a button that'll feel good about it, because they're saying, okay, I got it, it's done, I see my number, I'm good with that. And when that happens, it works. And so, like I said, that when I first started doing this, the number of steps were 6, 8, 9. Now the average steps are 17, 18. I have some with way over 30. And it is just because they want more granularity in that, in the process. And it's there. You got to, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And
is there a certain step that you've seen where the biggest bottlenecks occur? Or is it different for? I'm sure it's different for every dealership, but is there one that's typically higher than the rest? One that really stands out?
No, it's really all over the map. Sometimes it's service, and sometimes, believe it or not, it's just the inspection process, which should take half a day. Sometimes takes a couple of days for them to get around it, to getting the car inspected. If you got a detail operation and they're doing a lot of customer work, you might have some backups there. The paint shop, there are parts of it that are usually somewhat lengthy, but don't really take. They're not a high percentage of the cars. They don't really have a big impact like paint. But I would say the three major components are always the service component, parts. We had a big impact on parts because we now, for almost dealers, we have a parts hold category. So the parts guys are on the hook. If the parts aren't all there, they're the ones that's their step. And when the parts all come in, they put them in the trunk, they click, they're done, it goes back to service and it's on. But sometimes that can be a bottleneck. Let's see, what else am I thinking? Usually all the little work that people do on the lot, the biggest problem with that is dealers don't really trust the people that come in and just do it, that they always feel like they're getting ripped off. We have a solution kind of for that seems to work too. And then, and then we come up with every week. There's some more creative stuff that came up. I was working with the Larry Miller group for the cluster in Provo to bring them up in the last couple of days, and they got all the fixed ops managers in a room, and we worked out all the steps, which was really terrific. It was really dynamic. And you get a kick out of this. At the end, they said, well, we have a problem with the salespeople coming and borrowing cars from Recon all the time. And, do you think we ought to have a step for that? And I said, oh, yeah, that would be a good idea. So now, whenever a salesperson comes and gets a car, they go right onto that step where everybody can see it, and all the sales managers get a text message that this guy has this car, and it clicks away on our steps page. So after one day it turns yellow. After 2 days it turns red. So everybody can see it.
And everybody knows who has the car, right?
Who has the car? I mean, so that's the way it should be. But you couldn't do that without a system like this. I mean, it has to be easy enough to just drop things in there and then let the system do a lot of the work.
Now, do you find that this system works well for any size dealership, or is it too powerful for a smaller store? Where does it fit best?
Well, if you have a really small dealership, less than 50 cars, isn't going to, isn't going to do much for you. I mean, it's going to cost you something, and that may be inherently a problem. It should cost about $4 a car. I mean, that's the right price that this thing should work on. But I'm finding that the real sweet spot is from 100 cars a month up to 500 cars a month in a single store, with a lot of them clustered in the 150, 140, 150, 160 range. So that means.
Now, have you implemented your program into any other places other than dealerships?
No. I'm going to keep this kind of a Craigslist kind of product and totally focused into to the recon process. I have a lot of ideas of how we can continue. I mean, we're just really getting started with the things that we can do with this. But we have a terrific way for them to put notes into the system. They keep track of repair orders, send information out in the text messages. A lot of things. We're going to do iPhone and iPad apps. We can do that today, but there's no reason why anybody, the detail person or the body shop guy, pull out his iPhone and just say, okay, here are the cars I own. Okay, and when they're done with them, they just click on them and they go off, and it's all on the system.
Right. Hey, Michael, when you were a general manager for what, 25 years? You said.
Yes.
So what was your how did the recon process work at the dealerships you worked in?
Basically, let's say you took a car in off auction, then they immediately went to the service department for what we call an evaluation, recon evaluation, and depending on what the actual recon bill that service came up with, it estimate. At that point, we would decide, if we were keeping the unit, running it back off. And the same thing applied on trade-ins too. That process could take anywhere from 3 to 10 days, basically, just getting the estimates. So, and the only system was to have the service writer come up to use car manager with the RO and go over each one by one. What do you want to do on this one? What do you want to do on that one? And then, as to the time of parts, obtaining the parts would be the only other thing that would delay it. Then have the actual recon done in detail. And then, of course, it would be placed on the lot, and you'd have your weekly vendors come by for dent repair and things like that.
So, Dennis, when he said it was placed on the lot and then somebody comes by for the dent repair, are you finding that your dealers are doing the same thing, but it's still in the recon process even though it's already out on the lot?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty typical that, you've got 5 or 6 or 7 of those folks that come in and they're doing stuff up and down the other dealers in here. They're in and out. And like I say, the biggest question with those people are that they're not always, nobody knows exactly what they do and how long they do it. So it's nice with the system now. They're just in there just like anybody else. And basically they punch in and punch out, but they're doing it with their.
Yeah, I'm on a conference video. No, it's okay. I'm just joking. You're okay. I got it on mute.
Multitasking.
You're finding out the beauty of mobile hangouts now.
that was.
Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, who's driving down the road there? We got this black.
Well, that was me. I didn't realize it. But the problem is that you need to talk a little louder on the mics.
Yeah, you need some color and some resolution.
There we go.
Sorry about that. All right, we can see you now, Harry, and you aren't so loud. We were just getting a lot of feedback there.
Yeah, I apologize. No, it's funny because we just had a consultant come out today to our dealership. I work for a Volkswagen store, and they were talking about this product. actually today with my owner and my GM. Our recon, I heard that the recon nationally on the average is about 15 days, and we're from when the car drops at the dealership to it gets on the front line. We went from 27 days to 4 days now. So we're trying to get it down even quicker than that. But the problem is that we run into is the parts and body shop things, especially, paint work and stuff like that. So the problem is we're putting the cars on the front line with paint work like scratches and stuff, and it kind of devaluates the car. So we're looking at other solutions, possibly this product itself, to kind of facilitate, getting everything through the service department a little quicker. The question I have is there a possibility when the advisors, do they give us an upsell so we know exactly what they want to do on recon? Is that part of the product? Because I have never seen the product itself.
Well, that's not per se. I mean, that kind of rolls back into your sales process, and how much do you want to do to the car? You're talking about if you've got a customer interested in the car and you have the opportunity to make a decision. What do they want to take it as is, or do they want to get other work done? Will I have the opportunity? Was that the question?
No, actually. So why don't you guys talk a little bit more? I'm going to set up my computer instead of using my phone, and I'll get back together so I get a little, because I can't really hear it too well with the phone. I guess I can't put a mic in there or headphones or anything, so I'm going to try to use my PC, okay? So I'll be with you guys in a bit, okay?
Cool. Thanks, Harry.
He has a VW store. Where is he located?
I shall find out. Orange County, California.
That's funny. I was just there a few weeks ago.
Capistrano, Volkswagen.
Capistrano. San Juan Capistrano. He lives in the good life. Down with all the beaches and Santa Barbara-ites. Yes. Probably sell a lot of the, especially the VWs, the new Passat, hot car. Well, I think we were kind of wandering around in the various topic areas here, and I think the last question was, where are the most of the issues? And I think that they come and go. I don't think it's a constant, because you have resource constraints sometimes, and you're going to have cars that just they need more service work. They need more body work, and so it's continually changing, and that's why having this kind of real-time view of things is really important. It's just not going to be stagnant. There's too many moving parts in here, and I also think there's a real danger in trying to take this thing from 15 days to 3 or 4 days. If all of a sudden you're putting stuff out in the front line that's really, rough, without the right controls, I'm sure that can be a problem.
Right. I mean, it's just as important to hit each one of the steps, kind of like the sales process, I guess. You want to make sure that you hit the steps. That's just as important as getting the vehicle out there quicker.
Yeah, it's all about accountability, and not just forced accountability. It's about people saying, okay, yeah, I got this, I got my button here, and I'm going to take care of this, because they all know what they're supposed to do. They all want to do the right thing. The only people who lose out on this thing are the ones that just don't want to be accountable. Otherwise, you got all the numbers there to work with.
So how does the system actually work? And I know that you may have covered this earlier, but just to be a little more specific, when a vehicle comes into the Rapid Recon system, obviously there's steps that, you talk with the dealer and they say, these are our steps and these are the steps we want to hit. what happens, like the vehicle gets logged into the system and then step one begins. What happens when step one is complete? Or what is typically the first step?
Well, the first step is that we automatically put all the cars that come upline from the DMS into the first step every morning. We do that. We do that automatically. So they're all there. So the 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 or 40 cars are sitting there. Unless the dealer wanted to start a car down the track before it's cleared into F&I and it's in the DMS, and they can do that too. We drop it in by stock number, and then it all catches up. Now,
Right.
so what happens from there is it's basically logged in as received, and the next thing somebody's going to check it, decide, they're going to do an inspection. And that's how the RO gets written and all that approved. So that's the obviously next step. And so there is a person responsible for receiving all the cars. It's not the used car manager. It will be a lot person of some kind. And we know their job is to get it in and move it on as fast as possible. So their name will show up next to the click at the time and place and everything as to when that happened. So that happens all the way down the line. So when you look at these cars as they go down, or even they're finished, you'll see every one of them, and you'll see who touched them, how long, when, what sequence, and all that. So you kind of have a complete history of how the car went through the process.
Okay, so how does a person get notified when step one is complete? Who gets notified? Who has access to the system? How does the notification system work?
Okay, everybody has access to the online part of the system. As far as the alerts go, those can either be by text or email or both, and it's a short alert, and that's all done by the dealer just saying, here's who I want notified at these steps. When the car goes into service, here are the 3 people I want to know that car is now in service. And so that's how that happens. And but that whole thing, when that person clicks the car saying, I'm done, it's going to service, automatically those people get notified.
So the next in line gets notified, and then when they're done, they queue something in the system, and then the next person's notified and on down the line.
Same thing. Service is done. Okay, the next step is to go to the body shop or go to detail or go to photos, whatever the cycle is that you want to get the car. Get them up online as fast as possible. Sometimes there are 2 photo cycles, one up front and one later on. But yeah, as soon as that person clicks it, boom, it's gone. It's done.
Right.
They're in and out.
This kind of system, I've been talking with Jay for, I guess, about a month now, and it's somewhat similar to how your all system works. A little bit.
It's a little bit different. I think he's focusing on recon. We're focusing more on the service drive and the service customer. I have a question, Dennis. So basically, you create a process template where each individual component or player in the service department has their role to process in the recon phase, basically. So each one, once they finish their task for that particular car, they click off on it, they notify the rest of the team that part's been done, so that kind of goes to the next step then?
Yeah.
Do you actually customize a process map through your dashboard or whatever you have for dealerships based on how their process works?
Yes, absolutely. Everyone's different.
I mean, some people have, 3 people dedicated to it. Some people have a dozen people dedicated to it. So, there's a lot of people.
Yeah, no, it has to be that way. Every dealer is different. I've never seen 2 that are even close alike. So that's why this is a database-driven application. The only way you could do this really is to do that way, and to be able to still have all the non-linear flexibility of moving things around and still keeping track of them. But yeah, so that's the trick. And I usually show dealers 6, 7 different ones. I take them online and show them a bunch of live sites and what people are doing. Show them the numbers that they're getting. I let them put a car into a live site, see how it works, and they very quickly get the idea and start mapping it to their own idea what they want to do and their own people, and that usually takes a week or two to kind of settle down, and and then what we do is we lay the foundation in. They get their people together, we train them. I can do it over the phone. It's real easy to do. The system is very intuitive. And then in the following week or two or three, we tune the system. So they'll find that there's a step, maybe they need another step, or there's a step they don't need, or it's described wrong. All that stuff in the database system is real easy to change. And so I basically do all that for them. That's part of what I do to make sure, it's working. It's working the best way it can. I have the advantage of kind of seeing a lot of these things and knowing where the bodies are buried.
So you guys are basically each person that sends or completes their dedicated task. Once that's completed, hit a key or click a button somewhere. Is there a template with a pre-formed message that goes out to the other team members?
Yes.
Okay. So that's obviously that gets all sent out to all their cell phones, and they all have that information that way.
Yeah, it basically gives the stock number and the description of the car and the step.
Okay.
So they know which car, they know when, and they know what step.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you quoted Dale Pollock about one of the last great bastions of the car business, with the recon section, I completely agree with that because, I was in the retail end for over a dozen years in general management myself, and always get into a battle with the service department fighting about every car you get from the auction, if it's got less than whatever miles, always needs brakes. That's just a common thing. And we're always arguing with this, with the used car manager, and then people have a buyer on the car when it gets off the truck that next day. So people are selling cars before it's ready. So it's all about process, making sure the cars that people sell are tip-top, gets top dollar. People forget that sometimes, and they give away money every day because the car is not properly reconditioned for resale.
Absolutely.
Yeah. People will pay more for a properly reconditioned car.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you gone into a dealership where they typically when you go into a dealership, what kind of processes do they have in place before you get there? Do they have a process, or you go into some that just are winging it?
No. They all have a process. This is a step up from a shared spreadsheet / whiteboard, because they know what kind of problems they can't deal with. If they're not at that level, they're not a good candidate for this. It's the way I look at it. They have to have tried something else and know it doesn't work.
Right. Okay.
I don't try and convince the dealers that they have a problem. I only try and help them solve the problem that they believe they have. That's you're all in the business a long time, and I've been there not as long as you have, but I know that for a fact. And I just love to solve these problems. To me, they're just great, and they're all unique. They're all unique. You gotta put your hands on them. And I, by the way, I don't go to the dealerships. I very rarely actually go to a dealership. One of the benefits of this customization that we talked about was the fact that it's your system, and basically it's the way you want it, and you're going to wrap it around your people, and the way you want things done. And so I provide all the support to get it there and continue to kind of evolve it. But it's the dealer system from day one, and that's another thing that really makes it work. They're not looking to me that to kind of be there backstopping the thing.
What kind of reporting does your system generate for the dealer? Do they have end of the month reports where they can see exactly what's happened with the vehicles, so they can identify the bottlenecks?
Yep. They can. As a matter of fact, they can look at any date range and any step range and see exactly what the turn rate is at every level and they can look at. We have it set up two ways. One is to measure the person that's responsible for getting as many cars as possible to the front line at the end of the month. Okay, so there's going to be somebody in there. You know, how fast can I get cars on the front line? Then you're going to have measures for the service manager, for the detail manager, and those aren't going to be the same because you're not going to have the same cars. The detail shop's going to have other work to do, and so you have to be able to do what we call, independent measures, and then and be able to have the overall measure. And we have people that are basically doing paper performance plans on our system all over the place now. It makes sense. I mean, they're their numbers, and it's their optimization, it's their business, and everybody wins when this thing works. It's really fun to see when the used car manager doesn't feel the need to go out and put his foot up somebody's back every other week to make people feel like he knows what's going on. I mean, or the GM, in the case of the guy that started all this, is he was going around looking for dirty cars as symptoms, but he didn't really know what the numbers were. All he knew was that he didn't like what he didn't know. That's what got me hooked into this thing a year ago.
Well, Harry,
I'm sorry. Has the cost per car risen with the process? Average cost they spend on a car to recondition?
I actually don't know that. I don't know those numbers because we don't capture how much they put in the car.
Okay.
And all I know is that it works better for them, and they feel like they're making more money because they're getting the cars through faster. I have actually avoided trying to come up with ROI scenarios on this because at the end of the day it's usually what people don't know that's driving them crazy, and I can put numbers on these things all day because I'm heavy in analytics, but if they're putting the right more money in the car and moving them faster and their margins are good, I mean that's their job. I'll help them with the rest of it.
So Harry, you left us before. Did you have some more questions for Dennis?
No, eventually I'd like to see a demo. It would be kind of nice to see something. So you can what happens with software, I find out with a lot of software, it all looks good, and then you start using it, and you find a lot of fallbacks in the software. And then what happens is it's kind of good because how many people do you have working for you? Just yourself, maybe a couple of software engineers?
That's right. I have software engineers, but I couldn't.
No. Obviously, I have not seen the software. What happens a lot of times with software that I find out is that the dealer commits to the software equipment, and then you start using it, and you find out there's a lot of, there's bugs or things that don't really work, and then people just don't like the system for some reason. But I think with your company, are you a smaller company? It's you and maybe a couple of software.
Yeah.
Engineers. Yeah. So
I had 1,000 people working for me at HP, and I never got as much done as I'm doing now.
Yeah. But so that's what happens. I mean, we obviously we have our DMS. I guess I didn't get to hear your whole conversation in the beginning, but I guess you must pull information from the DMS to go in there, or do we manually put everything into?
No, it's all automatically. We get it we can get it from all kinds of sources. Whether who you're using to price your cars or put them up online.
Auto.
So, yeah, I mean, Dale sends me stuff in a flash. I'm getting it for dealers all over the country.
Right.
If you're pricing your cars quickly, then they should be coming down with everything we need, including the photos.
Right.
And this system, I mean, you hear this from everybody. This system's really solid. I mean, if you go on my website, rapidrecon.com, you'll see a bunch of people on there talking about, what they're doing with the system, and you should call them. I mean, don't take my word for it. These are people.
I've heard good things about it. I mean, just like in the beginning with Auto, I heard good things. And obviously, they got really big. It's a little bit harder to work with some of the some of the things we'd like to enhance. I mean, I look at things and I go, okay, well, this is great, but we should enhance those items. We should do better, a lot better. And sometimes people just don't want to do things. One of the good things I hear is like Mannheim. I don't know if anybody uses Mannheim, for simulcast. I buy most of my cars through the simulcast lanes, but they've done improvements, big improvements. But they're open to listen, and then they make changes quite rapidly. They do quite a bit of updates every weekend. It seems like they've done a lot of nice things. And I think, Auto, unfortunately, there's a lot of things that they don't change, or when they do change everything, it takes so long to get anything changed. Also, do you guys have a mobile device?
We have people using iPads and iPhones all the time. Put cars in, move them. And so, I mean, it's a browser-based application, so it's easy to do. Yeah.
But it's not built on Java, right?
No.
Okay. Yeah, because like Auto used to be, everything was built on Java. They changed over, it looks like this week, and now you can use it on the iPad. Obviously, using it in tablets is very important. Phones are a little harder. I mean, they're great, but they're, kind of hard to work on.
I think that's really important. We have people that are going to auction and dropping them right in at the auction on their iPad, right into Rapid Recon, and then they can keep their days in transit as a metric as well. So the mobile device is really important. Even the detail guys have iPhones now, so it's there. We're kind of Mac people up here, right? I mean. And so we're going to do more and more with those devices, so that you'll be able to just pull it out and say, okay, here are the cars I own, click, 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 and that kind of thing. More independent stuff, but still keep it synchronized.
Right. So, question for you: if I buy a car and I put it in my mobile phone at the auction, I go to the auction and I preset everything up, and I go, okay, here, I bought this car, so I finalize it and I put it into my inventory. How long does it take for you guys to pull it over? Like an hour or two, or does it go the next day, or how?
No, it'll go right into our system.
Okay.
You're going to have a Rapid Recon button on there, and you're just going to click that and drop the stock number in, and your people are going to see 10 minutes later that car's coming.
Okay. That's really nice to send. And then, so when I get a car and it goes through the recon, obviously it gets pulled into the shop, and the technician goes out and he checks it out. Okay, it needs brakes, battery, whatever the case might be, and then they have a toll bill on it. And they say, okay, the toll bill is going to be $1,200.32, and I have to sign off on the ticket. Can I do that electronically with your system?
No. We don't have an integrated RO system. However, here's what you could do. I hadn't really thought of this. Another creative thing.
Can I just interrupt real quick on your thought? Can I just interrupt? I'm sorry I jumped ahead. But,
sure.
I don't think there needs to be an integration, per se integration, until you finalize the RO. And I think would be better, because most of the time the ROs I get, they're not computer generated, they're handwritten by the techs, and then the advisor just kind of writes down the amount manually, on a piece of paper on the back of the RO, the hard copy. I mean, that's how it normally does, and then I just sign off on it. But if you can manually put that into the system, have the techs able to do it, or the advisor. Because some of the holdups that we have in our reconditioning process is obviously parts, getting the right parts on cars, or having the parts in stock. But a big issue is having the technicians go to the parts, get a quote from them, and then go back to try to find the advisor. The advisor went to lunch, or he's out running around finding cars or whatever.
So if they can just give me this information, if I can set up a menu and say, okay, you know, 30K is $300, you know, 20K is $20, you know, $200 or whatever it is, and set up menus ahead of time. All the guy has to do is just click in there and say, this is what it is, and I can approve it, and then there's no delay. It's like, it's an hour. So the car's on the rack. He doesn't have to pull it off, go out, you know, because what happens is they do the estimates. They know there's a delay. They take the car, they re-rack the car, put it out in the back, and then the guy goes for a smoke break. And then he, you know, it's like 2 hours later, and then he puts the car back on the rack again. It's ridiculous sometimes. So I'm thinking if you had a system, you know, that's the reason why I was looking at your system to try to do something that's more electronic. So I don't have to be at the dealership. The advisor, if he's down at our auxiliary lot, you know, trying to find a car for PDI or something, you know, we can do it on our phone or iPad. You know, we can be mobile running around the store, not have to worry all the time. Because, you know, being what I do, I'm like running around the store all the time. And now I'm starting, you know, I'm finally starting to carry an iPad around, which is so much easier to be a lot more productive.
Yeah, that would be pretty interesting. I mean, you could even put a step in there for approvals, or we set up this note field that's got, you know, all user managed that has 500 characters in it. You just type into it, and that kind of thing. And you could actually, we have like Fred Martin in Akron puts all our RO numbers in there and details about what needs to be done. And you could use that to manage your approvals as well. I mean, I'd have to show it to you, but it's something, you know, that you want to be able to see what's there, know you need to do something,
right,
make a decision, and then make sure nobody's waiting, right?
Right. Well, the thing is, it's routine. I mean, everything is, number one, I mean, it'd be kind of nice to just have a drop-down menu and have pre-selected fees in there, you know, because my checkout on the car is $300, $320 just to rack the car. Put it on the rack, check it out, you know, detail the car, do the inspections, $320. That's going to be on every single car. I mean, it doesn't matter. So I know that's a pre-selected thing. So they can put a pre-selected thing, you know, right there. Tires. Okay, each tire is going to typically cost X amount of dollars. When we do tires, you know, sometimes we're going to do alignments. It just depends, right? So those things can be pre-selected. So all the guy has to do, the technician, he doesn't have to think. All he has to do is click, say, okay, this is what it is, and it's close to the estimate. You know, we can always go a little higher on the estimate, so it's right there, and the guy doesn't have to wait for the advisor to, you know, upsell me, you know.
Yeah.
So it's
no, I understand. And yeah, I mean, you could come up with the 3 or 4 base things in there. We don't put drop downs in the notes field,
right.
But I mean, that would be nice. So you could just click on a couple things.
Yeah, I mean, because there's always going to be the same type of things constantly.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at it. I mean,
does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense to make it real easy for them to close the loop with you, and so you can decide you want to, you know, how far do you want to go with this car.
Yeah, I mean, because then what happens is the guy's right there. All he has to do is click on a couple things. He hits set, you know, he finalizes it, and he doesn't have to wait for the advisor. He doesn't have to look for the advisor. He doesn't have to look for me. It's done electronically. I get a text saying, hey, you know, you need to approve this RO. Can you check it out? And I can go look at it, you know.
Yeah.
And
So
no matter where
basically,
I'm at.
approval would be a step, right, Dennis?
Yes.
Yeah, that would make the system a lot more efficient, because that's one area that we really run into problems with.
We've recently been putting in steps for situations like that where UCM, there have been a couple approvals required as it goes through the phase. So when the first phase is done, all the service work's done, there needs to be a UCM approval at the next phase, which, you know, in other words, the work is done, and then probably at another step, and all the other sub work is done.
Right.
And the car is ready to go out front. But yeah, I mean, that's the beauty. What I would do just send you a 2-page thing. You can see this. You can see. I've got a little thing that just shows you what we're doing. It's kind of rough, but it's just it's just lists of steps that people are doing, and you'll be able to read right into it what they're doing.
Right.
Just by the
Do you guys have a demo site that someone can log in to just kind of play around with the tool?
No, you can only do that with me in parallel because I don't do demo sites and I don't do WebExes and I don't do that. What I do is I take you in parallel to live sites with me, and I just let you see what's really going on. I'm not, I don't like trying to show stuff to you unless it's live.
No, I understand. That's fine. That's kind of a good thing because then you actually see true stuff and it's not a bunch of demos. So.
Yeah, and then you can see what's really going on. You don't have to listen to me talk about what I might think you want.
Right.
And Dennis, who are some of the stores that you're currently working with? I mean, I know I've got a list of stores, but you know better some of the flagship stores you're working with.
Oh yeah, well let's see. So I got the Luther Group. They want to put all our stores on. We've got the first.
Who do you talk to? Is there Steve or Steve? At Luther West in Minnesota?
Oh yeah, you mean Westside VW?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
good guy, huh?
Yeah, great guy, a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And Dan Mobley, Dan's the guy that works for Mike, the president.
Right.
They want this done with everything, and now all of a sudden, First Look are my buddies, and they want to do some creative things and all that. But yeah, no, I mean, that's when I get, gosh, I get my list out here.
Yeah, I mean, your software is a good plug-in for, say, a vAuto, because what happens, like vAuto, that helps with the acquisition and pricing. But between the acquisition and pricing, there's the recon that needs to be done, and they don't have anything like that.
Well,
and even their mobile, even their mobile, you can't put notes in there, so you're running around sometimes blind.
Dale and I have had this discussion many times. He does not want to do this. He didn't want to spend any time on this. He's got other things. He's got a new book coming out in 11/11/11. I mean, he's got a lot of things he wants to do, and this is not in there. And frankly, this isn't very sexy. This is kind of down and dirty stuff.
It's okay.
And
it's okay.
Yeah, but that's good for me because I don't want to be out there on the trail trying to write a book. I mean, that's not my thing. And I like Dale because he's making all the rest of them stay busy trying to keep up with him. This is the absolute.
Yeah, I used to use spreadsheets and what he did with his software. And when I saw the software a couple of years ago, I go, oh, I got to get this. But I couldn't see it spend that much money each month. And actually, everybody was kind of happy that we did it, so it turned out nice.
I'm gonna give you just a quick idea of who some of the customers are, just because Tom is egging me on here. But I actually have to bring up my list to be able to do that. So we just brought up the first couple of stores at Larry Miller. These guys are in the Provo operation. I've got one of the Bergstrom guys. He's got 3 stores going. Renard Bergstrom, you may know him, up in North Dakota. I've got one in New York, Hoselton Mall, Zimbrick Auto Group in Madison, Wisconsin. They have 10 stores. We've got 3 in there so far. Lou Fuse, probably know some of these guys. But we've got the first one in there now and the second one going in. Bob Brown Chevrolet in Des Moines, 3 stores and so on. First Team, Everett Chevrolet, Hare Chevrolet, Luther you heard, Auto Nation, Fred Martin, Emick. You know Fred Emick probably. He's got a VW store. And
Fred and Kansas.
Yep, and some others, but that's enough. So we're still new in this. I mean, the product is still evolving, and it will continue to evolve. I've got a long list of things that we're going to do in the next round, but it's early enough to where our customers are the ones that are telling us what they want, and we're small enough to where we can do that.
Right. The system's being built by the dealers, or through the dealer input. So that's the only way to go.
Right from the day one. Yeah, all we've done. I was told many times when I got my head into this early on, about 8 or 9 years ago, from a West Rydell related meeting thing, that they came and grabbed me and wanted me to do some things, and it was, do not go down and build all these things people aren't going to use. Don't do the Excel thing or the ADP thing or whatever. It took me a couple of years to really understand that, by the way. I mean, so because I'm a techie and I always want to do things better, but we've kept this one really pretty much down to just the parts that are really needed. But I would love to have the opportunity to show some of the stuff to you. Just send me a note, Dennis@rapidrecon.com, and I'll set it up. That invitation to all of you and all your friends.
Yeah, I was going to have you, before we wrap up here, Dennis, I was going to have you give your information out. So it's Dennis McGinn at Rapid Recon, and I think John just put that in the chat. I'll put it in the live stream.
Yeah, it's my email address is just Dennis@rapidrecon.com. That's all it is. So, you guys can all call me too. My number should be in the chat if it isn't already, and it's on the website, rapidrecon.com. The website is pretty good. I mean, it's got some basic how does it work stuff. We haven't invested a ton of money in the website because I'm not trying to, turn this into a big machine. We'll leave that for next year.
Well, guys, if you don't have any more questions, I guess that will wrap up this first roundtable session with Auto Dealer Target. I want to thank Dennis McGinn for joining us, and thank everybody for their input. And look forward to the next one that's going to be going on next Tuesday. Not sure who the special guest is going to be, but I can assure you it's going to be another good event.
Okay. Well, Tom, I really appreciate the opportunity. And, gentlemen, really nice to meet all of you, and hope to be able to, if there's an opportunity to work with you, let me know. That's what I do.
Thanks, Dennis.
Okay. Good night, Jim.
Thanks, guys. Good night.